Although we're all enrolled in this course, which is titled Advanced Public Speaking, and perhaps consider ourselves more adept at public speaking than others, there are still tips, tricks, and skills we can learn to better improve our public speaking prowess. As everybody's mom has probably told them at one point in their life, after receiving their report card, there's always room for improvement. In this speech, I'll be focusing on 3 areas where we can all potentially improve our public speaking prowess: use of hand gestures, planning ahead, and the use of visual aids like PowerPoint. So to begin with hand gestures, I think we can all agree that hand gestures are a crucial part of public speaking. A good hand gesture can be used to help bring attention to a moment in your speech, or it can highlight a main idea or a crucial point. An article on medium.com, aptly titled Importance of Gestures in Public Speaking, identifies that hand gestures draw attention to what you're saying and draw attention to the important parts of your speech. Hand gestures often help to emphasize certain points of speech and strengthen the speaker's message as well. Additionally, audience can generally tell when a speaker is either being way too rigid and offering little in hand gestures, or when the gestures are way too forced and exaggerated. There exists a happy medium in between, and this medium can be achieved by memorizing several useful hand gestures. The article, 7 Hand Gestures That Make You Look Like a Real Intellectual on Wired.com, identifies 2 gestures that a good public speaker should always have in their repertoire: the shelf sweep and the critical whirl. Now, the shelf sweep is a 2-handed maneuver that involves pushing aside imaginary contents in one direction and then quickly sweeping aside imaginary contents below in the opposite direction, just like I highlighted there. You can also go vice versa, like go this way and then come down and go that way. The article identifies that this hand gesture can be used when explaining hierarchies. Moving on, the critical whirl is used when unpacking an idea and is done like this: circling your hand counterclockwise, the other way, circling your hand counterclockwise. Wait, I've been doing it the right way the whole time, never mind. In a small but rapid motion. Keeping those two in mind and educating yourself on other useful hand gestures can take your speech to the next level. As the Wired article says, to become a genuine thought leader. So moving on to planning ahead. It can be really beneficial for us public speakers to consider and adapt to the audio-visual setup of a room we're speaking in. Most of us, I think, have had the luxury of doing most of our public speaking in classrooms at CSU, where the audio-visual setup has been pretty uniform, but as we transition to our respective careers, we'll be speaking in many different spaces. Thus, it is important to keep this in mind. In her article, 6 Ways to Be an Amazing Public Speaker, Deborah Jacobs recommends that speakers let their host know what equipment they will need in advance and ask their host to provide a computer and projector. And as a speaker, you should plan to bring the presentation on a thumb drive. So, just like speeches should be drafted and prepared ahead of time, making accommodations for a room's audio-visual setup should be done ahead of time as well. Lastly, there are several things to consider when attempting to effectively integrate a visual aid, such as PowerPoint, when giving a speech. First off, take into consideration the color scheme of the PowerPoint. The website leadershipgeeks.com recommends choosing pastel or bright colors as they're easy on the eye. Additionally, you want to use complementary colors and be sure that there are not more than 3 colors on a slide. If you have more than 3 or colors are clashing, it can be too distracting for the audience. The site also identifies that color can unconsciously affect the mood of the audience. Thus, it's good to take into account the different meanings of color. For example, the color blue is associated with reliability and loyalty, color red is a color of passion, and purple suggests royalty. The amount of text on a slide is also important to consider. The article 10 Honest and Completely Helpful Tips for Hitting a Public Speaking Home Run, featured on entrepreneur.com, recognizes the 10-20-30 rule as a good metric. The rule is simple. A PowerPoint should have 10 slides, last 20 minutes, and text in a 30-point font. Abiding by this rule will help a speaker strike a good balance between the auditory and visual elements of their speech, so that their audience is never overwhelmed by the amount of text on a slide or bored with how long they have stayed on one slide. As I said at the beginning, we all have room to improve in public speakers, myself included, so I look forward to hearing all of your tips you have to offer. I hope you found my speech informative and useful, and I look forward to when you all credit your success as public speakers in the future solely to me and this presentation. Thank you.